WWF. Was that the case, or was it like, well, we didn't think Vince was going to get in trouble anyway, but this is a huge blow, or is it like, oh, thank God, we all thought Vince was going to jail, thank God he got out?
There were times when Pat was there and the creative was being done on weekends with Vince, Pat, and myself. And so we could talk very openly, whether it was about talent, whether it was about something, a match, it was, you didn't feel of the three of us that we had to be guarded what we said to Vince, either whether it was a comment or whatever. It was, which I think is a big reason why it was a time where the company was so successful, because of three people that were making creative decisions and carrying them out. There was a genuine camaraderie between the three of us. He was the boss. We were working for him, but it was a very, very comfortable working relationship from my standpoint.
Were you worried about him going to jail?
Well, that's the other thing I was going to say, that more than one occasion, with Vince would say, with just he, Pat, and I, he would say, well, you guys need to take good notes, and Vince was convinced that, and his logic, which made sense, is when the government spends time and money and effort, they're going to get their pound of flesh. And Vince was convinced that because of that they were going to get him for something. And he was convinced that he was probably going to go to jail for some period of time. Maybe not a long time, but he was convinced that when the government's out to get you, they're going to get you, and I'm no different. And they're probably going to hang something on me, and I'm going to end up doing time. And he used to joke. He said, you and Pat, I have to come up on visiting days and bring your yellow pads with you and take notes. and the company's got to keep rolling, and you guys would be the guys that are doing it while I'm not free to be there sitting with you. And he'd laugh about it.
Wow.
That conversation happened more than once.
So he was kind of legit nervous and worried. What were the talks like? Let's say, he goes to jail. Is this the point where he's like, okay, I'm bringing in Jerry Jarrett, and he's going to replace me, and he's going to be the head of the WWF?
There was a period of time there where he was convinced that this was about to happen, and I don't know how it. I think we would talk openly, and I would say, well, Pat and I could, because we've been here a long time with you, Pat longer than me. We know, we without just bluntly saying it, but especially with Pat, he knew what Vince's likes were and what his dislikes were. So that things that he knew that Vince wouldn't like never got put on the table. Because Pat would say, no, Vince will never go for that. Let's not waste time and effort. And we're not going to try and sell him on something that he's just totally against. And Pat knew Vince really well. And there was plenty of other directions that we could go without saying, okay, we got to pick something that we feel strongly about, even if Vince doesn't, and we got to make him see it our way. Never got into those kind of discussions because it was just, it would have been wasted energy, to be honest with you.
Was Jerry Jarrett ever hired by WWF at that point?
What happened was Vince was convinced that he was going to do some time. And he said that we should prepare ourselves for that, what I don't want to use the word eventuality, but that's the word that immediately comes to mind. In other words, he felt that strongly that The government's out to get him. They're going to get him for something, even if it's a short-term thing. The number was that he wanted to pay Jerry under those arrangements was substantial, and he said, "And I will do it in the form of a contract." Talk to Jerry. Jerry said, "Okay." So it's like, first of all, he wanted Jerry to come up and spend a little time with Vince to make sure that that was something that Jerry would be comfortable with. So for 3 weeks, Jerry came up and actually lived in Vince's house. Had meals there, slept in the house, stayed with him. On the weekends, still went home. And then that just gave Vince a chance to really get to know Jerry, and that everything that I had said about him, that I thought that he was the only person in the industry that I felt on a much smaller scale had been involved in an operation in Memphis where he oversaw everything, TV and everything, much like Vince did, but obviously a much smaller scale. So it was okay to have Jerry move up, and then we were going to find him an apartment to live in. He would come up on Monday, be there for the week. Thursday night or Friday morning, he would then fly home, be there for his son's football game, and then be with his family for the weekend, and then fly back up. And then so we'll give him and it was really he really paid him well.